Hey, what's up guys? This is the White Jackal here, and we're going to be talking about Equinox and Equinox Prime today. What one you're looking for getting when it comes down to it, definitely go for the Prime variant with this frame. I mean, all Primes are usually better, but in this case, the Prime is necessary. She gets a 75 additional health and 25 additional armor. On top of that, she does get 23 additional energy. And we're using a lot of energy with this frame, so that actually does help out quite a bit. Her base frame does take a long time to build. It takes 7 days minimum, and that's if you farm efficiently and get quite lucky. Also, her Prime, it is available as of right now in 2020, so I highly recommend you try to go out and get her. She is an amazing frame, and I think you're going to actually enjoy her a lot. But all in all, just the Prime for this frame is a need. You're just going to definitely want to grab this thing as soon as possible. So let's get into actually where to farm her base frame. That would actually be on Uranus. As you can see here in navigation, we click on this, just go up to the assassination mission. You kill him, you're going to actually have to build both sides of her base frame. So there's 8 parts that you're going to need to make, the day and night, and then fuse them together, which will take an additional 3 days. So now we're going to get into her build, well, her mods. We're going to look at here, you got New Loca and Arbiters of Hexus. These are the 2 syndicates that actually have her mods if you're looking for them. So you go in here, just scroll down, and all 4 of her mods are readily available. Starting off with Duality. So Duality is a really cool mod. It strips half of her away whenever you switch form, giving it a 300% damage buff to your clone, letting it deal a ton of damage. That does not scale with strength, however it does scale with duration, just not very well, so keep that in mind. Next up we have Calm and Frenzy. This is actually a quite cool mod. It's really good for her night effect. You can put a lot of enemies asleep, and then it spreads to more enemies as they die. It also gives that little bit more damage when you're in day. I hardly ever use it when in day form, but that is up to you if you want to try that out. Next up, we got her third ability mod, that is Peaceful Provocation. So with this one, you get that additional power strength whenever you're in day form, dealing damage to enemies, and whenever you're in night form, if your team and you are taking damage, it'll actually create an aura that will slow enemies around you by 40%. It's not bad, it's pretty cool, especially with a good amount of range, but that's all up to you guys to playtest if you want to try that out. Last but not least, we have our ulti mod. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I can see where it actually comes into play in the game. It's pretty much whenever you switch from your ultimate ability to day and night, you actually lose all the energy you saved up on that ultimate ability. However, with this, you get to keep it all. So you get to activate it whenever you feel like it, but most of the time you're in day or night form, using those abilities, you're staying in that form. You're not really switching all that often. Okay, now let's get into the ability aspect. We got our passive, 10% of health orbs are converted into energy orbs, and 10% of energy orbs are converted into health orbs. Pretty self-explanatory. You're not getting the whole amount anymore. Now you're getting 90%, but you're getting a little bit towards the other half, which is quite convenient. Honestly, we do enjoy that quite a bit in the game. On top of that, she has a secret passive that we'll go over right after this. So let's start off with our first ability, Metamorphosis. This is where she switches forms. It does have base drain and duration that you can see at the top that can be altered with certain mods. However, her day form, whenever you activate that, you'll actually get a damage multiplier and a speed increase, which is quite cool. It does help you out, deal that extra damage. Whenever you go into her night form, it gives you a shield capacity increase and armor increase that you can see, and it does have a good amount of duration on it for most builds, so you can definitely abuse these little buffs from switching. So try it out. Next up, we got the Rest and Rage. This is a really nice ability, especially the rest aspect. Whenever you're in night form, you're actually able to put enemies asleep, and whenever you're in day form, they become more vulnerable to damage and get that little bit of a speed increase. So that's nothing bad about that. Like, that's pretty cool. But there is something to know about this ability. It is not based on you as the focal point. It is based on your aim. So you can see in the scene that they actually show that there's a little bubble that showed up in between the 2 enemies. That's actually where she was aiming, and that's where the ability activated. So it goes from there outwards, not from you. So keep that in mind. However, all her other abilities do activate from her. So it's a little interesting aspect right there. We got Pacify and Provoke. This is actually a pretty cool ability. This is really good for both day and night. I always like to have this one activated whenever you're in day form. You're actually giving a strength buff to you and your teammates if they're in range. And whenever you're in night form, it's quite simple. All you're doing is reducing the enemy's damage to you. So you're able to tank a lot more whenever you have this activated. So basically you're choosing either to give yourself strength or take damage away from the enemy, which all in all always helps you out in the long run. If you do decide to do this, it does have a multiplier pretty much for like how much energy it uses. In day form, it's per ally that it affects. So if it's just you, you're using that 3 energy per second. And if you're doing the night form, it's per enemy, which is the 0.5 energy per second. You're not going to run out of energy with this activated usually. Like, it is a pretty slow drain, especially with max efficiency at 175. But if you aren't careful, you can drain your pool pretty quickly with this ulti, and if you're activating any other abilities on top of that. So this is more of a baseline ability that you're definitely going to want to check out. And then last but not least, we have Mend and Maim. This is the one ability that everyone knows pretty well. Whenever you activate Mend, you're actually getting your shields back. That's based on kills, so whenever you're killing enemies with this activated, you're getting shields. That goes for allies too, so you can get those nice purple shields on everyone, that overshield. And in day form, you're dealing a slash damage to everyone around you, hurting them. It's pretty cool. But these actually do have a second part. Whenever you deactivate the ability, the day form deals a burst of slash damage to everyone depending on how much you have charged up. And in night form, it actually heals everyone, including yourself, in the radius based on the amount of energy you have stored up, which doesn't take a lot for night to full heal. Alright, let's get down to her second passive that we were talking about earlier. You can see the missive right here. It has a little emblem. Whenever you change the color of your missive to something light, you'll actually see the horns on that emissive emblem turn white. That means you're starting off in day form. However, if you want to start off in night form, all you have to do is put on a darker color like this purple, and now you can see the horns are black. This tells you that you have that night form activated, so once you go in the mission, you're already set up for whatever you want to do. So this is the early game build. It's nothing special. I'm just telling you what mods you want to focus. I know you don't have any of your mods maxed. It's okay, but you're definitely going to want Streamline, Vitality, and Stretch. All these mods affect her abilities through and through. It's just a really good thing to have. You're going to want to focus these mods and definitely get them on her. Survivability is key, range is key, and making sure you can spam your abilities is key. Strength, optional. So this is my duality build. It focuses on the first ability, and that's it. All you have to do is press your first ability, shed that other half like we talked about earlier, and your other half will deal the damage for you. Now, just so it's clear, duration does scale, however, damage does not. So if we put on, let's just say, instead of Hunter Adrenaline, we could put on Intensify, right here. So we take this, put this here, and you can actually see we got that 30% boost, but our damage multiplier has not moved. So there is no point to build strength on her whenever you're doing duality. Instead, I just recommend Hunter Adrenaline, because whenever you have Vitality and Hunter Adrenaline, we know how that works out. We get that energy back, and on top of that, we got a Streamline and an Energy Siphon, so we're not really going to be running out of energy with this build. We have quick casting on here. A lot of people don't think it's that necessary. I like it because we are switching our first ability quite a lot, so I think it's sort of key. And then we have a ton of duration. Range isn't really necessary, so we threw on Narrow-Minded because we want that 30%. So here's a little mission. We're on Mott just to show you guys actually how well it works out. There's, when we activate, you can see the other half gets shed. It is a pretty brainless AI, but it can get the job done because the 300% multiplier is quite nice. So here we go. We shed it, and there it goes. It just starts destroying everything for us. My gun is not hitting that hard. However, with that 300% buff, it's one-shotting these enemies. This is Mott. It's not like they're super tanky, but you can clearly see it actually affects. Now, duality just procced. I just activated it. We get 30 seconds on that second one. You can see the same symbol. That's your other buff. That's your armor and shield increase or your damage increase. And it's pretty much that you will never have to worry about. As soon as you activate your little second half, you're going to get those buffs, and they aren't going to run out until your other half runs out anyways, then you're reactivating. So as you can see, this build is pretty self-explanatory. However, once you do take damage, all you have to do is activate your ulti in night form. Now if you do decide to start shooting enemies, you're going to notice that we're actually getting no points. You can see on the ground that little flex looking stuff, the metallic-y. That's actually our range. So we're going to want to use melee on this build. Whenever you're knight, you're blocking damage and able to stack up. You can see our damage is starting to increase now since we are using melee. And then pretty much as soon as you feel like you have enough, you can just find a group of enemies like over here. We're going to reactivate our ulti, and there it is. We're back to full health. Pretty simple. Just reactivate our first ability again, get our clone to do the work for us, and we're set. So this is our tank ability. This one is pretty nice. I like this tank build. It focuses on pretty much everything. You're allowed to use whatever you want. First ability to get those buffs. You can use the second ability against tankier enemies like Noxes and stuff. Put them to sleep, just stealth kill them. You can use the third ability to reduce damage taken. You don't want to be pretty much hurt, so you use that. Lowers down that bullets that are hitting you. And then on top of that, our ulti is giving us shields back. And on top of that, we're getting that health back whenever we deem it necessary. Because we will have our stacks up, and I will be showing that soon. However, we're going to be looking at the actual build. We have Intensify. It's not necessary, but I do like it on there just for the added bonus. We have Adaptation to reduce all that damage coming at us by 90%. And we have Vitality and Steel Fiber just to make sure that that adaptation actually activates. We do have Hunter Adrenaline to get that energy back because we have Vitality and the ability to heal ourselves, so why not? And then we also have Streamline and Fleeting Expertise. You'll notice that there's only one bubble missing from each. That's just because we cap out at 175 and there's no point to go past that. So we're going to do an arbitration mission with this tank build just to show you that it can actually effectively go. We're 20 minutes in here, and you can see that it's not really a struggle for us. We got that purple shield because we have our ulti going and our third ability, so they're not really damaging us. It doesn't matter that they're infested. If they're near, they'd be doing the same thing. Corpus, you have to be careful of nullifiers, but all in all, it's pretty simple. The only thing you have to be really afraid of is Slash and Toxic. As you can see here, we got that toxic damage, and it just cuts right through us. So we just activate our ulti, and we're back up to full health. Everyone in that area is full health too, and back to doing what we were doing. So this is the kill by day build that I made. It's pretty self-explanatory. We just kill everything. Its focus is on the third and fourth ability. Everyone knows this ability pretty well. It's her nuke build, and it is quite a bit of fun. If you have the third ability activated, you do get a little bit of that power strength increase that we do need a little bit of. It's not that big of a deal, but every little bit helps. And then we have our main ability going, which is pretty much what we're using to kill everything. And I mean, it is slash proc, so that's also really cool too. It's quite effective for even farming this build with like a Necros, because slash always helps, so why not use it? Now, whenever you're actually looking at the full build, we do have quite a bit of ability strength on this, but it's not necessary as long as at 100% we're set. Corrosive projection, just because armor is our enemy with this build, armor sort of just screws us over pretty hard. And then we have on our ability mod just for that ability strength increase whenever it is activated. It's not necessary. You could switch this out with something else, but I just like using the mods that are available for her just for fun. We have Streamline and Fleeting Expertise just to get that efficiency up, because whenever you have something constantly going, you just want those abilities to always be readily available with the most efficiency possible. Then we also have an Intensify, Power Drift, and Augur Secrets. You might be wondering why I have those on. If I said power isn't that big of a deal, it's only to actually beat our overextended power decrease. We have Augur Reach, Stretch, and that overextended for that range, because the more range we have, the more enemies we're killing. So let's just show off this build and actually how it functions. If you just activate the ulti, you can see we're doing 58 damage per second, and it does stop. It's not a consistent thing. There it is. So that's where it ends. Now if we have our third ability and then our ulti, you can actually see we're actually dealing about 15-20 damage additional. It's not a big deal, but hey, it helps out, right? So we're going to show you on flesh enemies like these ancient healers. Whenever you kill one, that gives you the ability to do 75% damage to pretty much what it is, an ancient healer. So if you look at him, we activate our alt. You can see he doesn't die, but a good chunk of his health is gone. Now if we would have killed both of them and there was a third one standing there, we would have killed it completely without a problem. Now you might notice the armor enemies took basically no damage from this. Armor is a nightmare. Whenever you're fighting high level enemies with armor, you need to get those stacks pretty high up there. Now if we activate this, go over to this bombard over here, we'll shoot him down and show you that just because you deal the damage doesn't mean everything's going to be hunky-dory on the next one. We activate our ulti and you're actually going to notice his bar doesn't move at all. Just armor defeats us pretty much. We're pretty weak to it. However, you can see we have a ton of range, and if you get enough stacks against armor, we actually have 35,000 damage right now against the level 100s. Activate. We go over, you can see a good chunk of their health bar is missing, and every single one of them has the same amount missing. Now if we go to the sides, these ones were farther away, so they actually only got half the damage because they were at a more distance. So distance matters with this build. So this is a sleep by night build. This focuses only on the second ability. You can use your ulti to heal, that is up to you, and reduce damage with your third, but mostly we're focusing on just putting stuff to sleep. It's a good defensive build for helping out teammates. You can even use this to hunt down some little animals on Fortuna in the plains, which is just a little added bonus. So we have our Calm and Frenzy mod right here. This is just a spread around those sleep procs to everyone else around. We're going to be spreading it with all that range. We don't need strength at all because we're just putting them to sleep. We're not really trying to hurt anyone with the actual abilities. We have Continuity and Constitution just so we can get that duration and a ton of efficiency. We have Energy Siphon just to make sure our energy is constantly coming back to us. And we are spamming this ability a lot, so we need that casting speed on there. So just to show this off, I'm going to actually take you to Mott so you can actually see how it does against pretty tough enemies that would one-shot us otherwise, because we don't have vitality and stuff. But if we just cast our second ability, you can see they're all out. They're sleeping. They're not an issue for us. And we're not really losing energy. I mean, this is only 5 minutes into Mott, but it's not a real problem for us. We're just going to keep casting our second ability and enjoying our time. So pretty much Equinox is pretty valid. She's simple. She can do everything you want her to do. She can support, she can tank, she can defend, she can deal the damage. It's fully up to you how you play her, which is a phenomenal frame if you want to try her out. I love her. I think you will too. Thanks for watching my video, guys. Please come back, check it out, subscribe, like, and check me out on Twitch as well. Mr. White Jackal on that. And you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.